Today we are going to be looking at rare players under £30 that have really great AA that you can whack into your Sorare lineups. I have found 12 players in total, 2 midfielders and 10 defenders that are perfect to enter into your rare competitions, especially those cat modes. As always guys, please make sure to like and subscribe, and let's get into the video. Alright guys, so we have found 12 players in total using this filter here. We want people that are playing at least 3/4 of the game, so 75% of games started and games played, with some nice AA in there. And we've put the most recent average to £30, which has given us all these great options here. And let's start with Matthias Taffner, who plays for Tyrol in the Austrian Bundesliga. He is 22 years of age, a nice U23 option, and his most recent sales in rare are around about £30, £29.68 there, and £29.73 there. You can see from his scores that recently he's been on a good run of form. If we have a look at just when he plays for Tyrol this season, and I believe he started every game apart from one there. Some really nice scores with 20.6 AA, which is great, especially for someone of his price and his age. He gives you a nice consistent floor. Only one score there below 35, which was this 27 here, where he got booked and had minus 7.9 AA. But yeah, really consistent. I'm not sure about his home and away split. Let's check that out. At home, he averages 55.5, and away from home 61.6, which is helped by this 92 score here. So yeah, he is better when he is playing not at home. But I think overall for a U23 option at this sort of price, that's great value. The only downside to him really is that Tyrol are probably the second worst team in the Austrian Bundesliga. There is obviously that chance of relegation there, so there is that slight bit of risk. And also with the Austrian Bundesliga, they have 2 more fixtures before their winter break. So yeah, the next game after the next 2 fixtures is the 10th of February. So there is a little bit of a wait there to actually use him. But yeah, for his price overall, I don't think really you can go wrong. Next up, we have Michel Castagnetti, who plays for Cremonese in the Serie B. He's got L5 of 63, L15 of 56, and L40 of 46. And yeah, his price is a little bit up and down. His most recent sale is £55, but prior to that was 29, 29 and 38. So it's probably more around this £30 region. I'm not sure why this price was a little bit higher here. He is a midfielder, and yeah, I think one of only 2 midfielders on this list, along with our first option, Matthias Taffner there. And yeah, his scores, especially recently, have been really, really good. If we look at games just for Cremonese in Serie B, and his scores overall, really, really nice. His scores get dragged down slightly by his Serie A scores. Obviously, prior to them getting relegated, his scores were much lower. Now they've been relegated, playing in an easier league, his scores have taken that boost. When he's played 21.4 AA, which is really nice, 2 goals, 1 assist, a really, really solid baseline, no scores under 50 there. Perfect for most cat modes. His biggest limitation is that he's not going to give you those peak scores. But once again, for someone around that sort of £30 to £35 mark, I think you can't really go wrong. And if you're putting into, for instance, cap 240s, you know that he's always going to get you a decent score. And then in something like cap 270, for instance, you can put him with some more big hitters. He can give you that really sort of safe baseline. And then those big hitters, if they get a goal or assist, can get you those 80, 90 scores, and he can sort of complement them quite nicely. Now move into a whole host of defensive options. First up, we have got Luca Itta, who I believe is currently injured. However, has a very, very nice price tag of round about sort of £16 to £20 ish. His scores, very, very nice. He has obviously missed the last couple of games due to injury. I'm not sure on that injury status, how long he is out for. However, when he does play and does start, really solid scores, 18.8 AA. I believe from scouting him earlier, his home split is really nice, 59.3 when he plays at home with 24.3 AA. And then away from home, not as good at 48.8. So with someone like him, you can definitely play him in a better lineup when he's playing at home in a favourable matchup. So if they're at home versus some teams that are down the bottom in that sort of relegation zone, definitely put him into, for instance, a 270 when he's playing away from home or at home against a harder team. Maybe try and put him into a cap 240 lineup, or perhaps cap 220 if this L15 comes down. But yeah, overall, once again, a really nice option. Has a contract till 2025, and for round that sort of 16 to 20 pound mark, I think he's a great long-term purchase. Next up, we have Patrick Mainka, who plays for Heidenheim in the Bundesliga. Recent sales of £23 and £21. Obviously, they went up from Bundesliga 2 this season, so his scores have taken a hit. If we have a look at his scores for Heidenheim, in the second div, he was averaging 63.2, and this season he's averaging 51.3, so there's a big 10-point difference. However, with this, you've got that sort of balancing act of he's going to get you half decent scores this season. In the Bundesliga, averaging 51, isn't great, but it isn't going to kill you. A nice, safe floor, a couple of good games in there, and he's someone that's perfect for like a cap 240, for instance. And with Heidenheim, obviously, if they do go down the season and then go back into Bundesliga 2, you then got someone who was a really, really good scorer. Some nice high peaks, 100, 85, 84, 93. So yeah, there's that sort of balancing act. So if you can use him this season, and then there is that possibility of perhaps them getting relegated and him being a much better option next year. From the Bundesliga, we then move to the French League 2 with Mamadou Diarra, who plays for Grenoble Foot. And yeah, he's probably one of my favourite options. His price currently is around £21. And he's someone that the reason I like him is he can get you those peak scores. I believe from looking at him earlier, especially when he plays at home, he gets some really, really nice scores. Averages 58.2 at home, which is great, and gives you some of those nice dark greens, 76, 71, 83, 91. And then away from home, 45. So he is definitely one of those players that you really want to play at home. There's like a 12, 13-point difference between home and away fixtures. So yeah, definitely when he's at home, put him into a better lineup. And then when he's playing not at home, I would say don't put him in your priority teams. Put him somewhere where he isn't going to do too much damage, because you can see that he doesn't really have much upside and does have that opportunity for those lower orange scores. So yeah, I would probably whack him into, if you can, 240s, 220s when he's playing away from home. Continuing in French League 2, we have Cedric Avenel, who plays for Ajaccio. He's actually one of the cheaper players on the list. His most recent sale was £13.10, and before that £11.08. He's someone that for his price tag, I think is just a no-brainer, really. If you have a look at his scores for Ajaccio, he also gets some international games for Guadalupe as well. But yeah, he isn't someone that's going to obviously score huge, but we're sort of focusing on those lower value players that you can plug and play and not have to sort of worry about too much. He's really consistent, especially recently, since game week 409. Some really nice scores, only a couple of yellows in there. If you have a look at his home and away split, at home he averages 46 and away from home 43. So once again, someone that's better when he's played at home. And yes, just some really, really solid scores. Lots of scores in that 50 to sort of mid 60 range. And yeah, for his price tag around that sort of 10 to 13 pound mark, I think he's an absolute bargain. Okay, moving on to another second div player. We have got Clerk, who plays for Elche in the Spanish second division. If we have a look at his prices, recent sales of £21, £19, and 25. So somewhere around that low 20s probably. If we have a look at his scores for Elche this season, very, very nice. A really, really safe middle ground. No scores below 36, which is always good. If we take out that DMP there we are. He is averaging 54.4, which is great, 19.4 AA. And if we have a look at his home games, 59.6 for someone that's nearly averaging 60 when he plays at home for £20, I think is brilliant value. And away from home, 47.8. So not as good, but once again, isn't going to kill your lineups. And if his cap can obviously fit, would be great for a like cap 240. But yeah, when he's playing at home, you can definitely put him into a better lineup, even like 270s with that chance of a really high score here, like 96. And to be honest, even if you get a 59 or a 68, 58, 62, and you've got a little bit of bonus on him, he's going to get you those low to sort of mid 60 scores, which if you can partner him with some better options that have that really high end upside, I think for his price range, he's probably one of the most consistent and best scorers on this list. Okay, 5 more defenders left. And next up on the list, we have Lucas Galvo, who plays for Austria at Vienna in the Austrian Bundesliga. His most recent prices are around that sort of £13 to £15 mark. The only downside is that he is suspended, so I'm not sure how long that will be, but they've only got 2 more games before the break. So maybe if it's a 2 or 3 game suspension, you can't use him till February. But for his price tag, he is one of the best options on this list. And I'm going to show you why. If we look at games that he's played this season for Austria Vienna in the Austrian Bundesliga, and we look at his scores here, some really, really nice scores with some nice peaks. And then if we look at his home fixtures, he's averaging 69 when he plays at home, which is crazy for a player of £15 value. Has some really nice peaks in there, hasn't scored below 50 when he plays at home. And Austria at Vienna are one of the better teams in the Austrian Bundesliga. So yeah, he should continue to score very well moving forward, especially in those home fixtures. Keeping with that Austria theme, we have got Lucas Gugenig, who plays for Rheindorf Altasch. His most recent sales were £22 and £22.50. If we look at his scores, he's very, very consistent. He's one of my favorite options on this list, just because he's someone that plays every game, can get you those peak scores, and offers you that really safe sort of mid ground. So he's someone that can do like a little bit of everything. If we have a look at his scores overall, the downside is that he plays for Rheindorf, who I think they're third bottom, maybe second bottom. So there is obviously chance of relegation there. However, if he's getting these scores in this sort of team, if they just slightly pick up form, or even if they do go down, if he gets a transfer, obviously that's very, very good. If we have a look at his home and away split, at home, he's slightly worse, 55.1. Away from home, he is averaging 59. So there's 4 points difference in there. You can probably play him in both home and also away fixtures. And yeah, like I was saying, he can do a little bit of everything. Some nice middle scores and gets you those peaks as well. And for someone around that £25 mark, I think is once again really good value. Okay, and next on the list we have Arbia, who I think a lot of people will recognize. He's a bit of a Sorare cult hero. Plays for Eibar in the Spanish second div, and yeah, his recent sales, £20, £26 and 30. So it's a little bit cheaper recently. You can probably get around that sort of mid ground at £25. He's someone that is super consistent, plays pretty much every game, which is impressive for someone of his age. If we have a look at his scores, Eibar, there we go. Some really nice scores. He's probably one of the best scorers on this list, which is crazy for someone of his age. Lots of dark greens on there. You can see here lots of scores between 60 to 70, 70 to 80. Barely any under 40, which is always great. If you have a look at him at home, averages over 60 at home, which is crazy. 27.7 AA. and then away from home averages 54 with 19.4 AA. So he's still decent when he isn't playing at home, especially in those fixtures against weaker opposition. But yeah, for someone of his age, that's the sort of only downside really, is that you might not get any more games after him from next season onwards, or there is obviously that risk of injury with older players. But yeah, overall for £25 and these scores, especially at home, it's just crazy. Next up on the list, we have Mark Oliver Kempf. His two most recent sales are £26.70 and £27.72. His scores, I believe from looking at him earlier, he's had a few DMPs through injury and suspension. If we have a look at him this season in Bundesliga 2, and we take out those suspended games, he's averaging 50.3 with 19 AA. If we have a look at his home split, he's averaging 59.5 with only one score below 60. So when Hertha are playing at home and he's playing, he's an absolute smash play. Away from home, he's only averaging 42.6 with a bad game in there against Nuremberg. Yeah, I would say when he's not playing at home, just be careful with him. He can obviously score you these low scores, but yeah, when he's at home, you can play him with confidence, especially in, for instance, a like Cap 270 team. And if this L15 stays quite low as well, he's going to be very cap friendly for his cap mode. And finally, last on the list, we have Postigo, who plays for Levante in the Spanish second division. His two most recent sales, auction was a little bit higher here for his new season card at £21.25. And before that, his old season card sold for around £10. So yeah, you can probably find his old season card for around about this sort of price. If we have a look at his scores, whack that on Levante. There we go. He's someone that scores very, very consistently, especially in that sort of 45 to 60 range. The only downside of him is that he doesn't really have much upside. Only one score of above 80 on here. If you can get him for £10, I think this is still very, very good value, especially if you're just starting off playing those cap modes. Someone like this who can score very, very consistently can be very handy for Cap 240s, for instance. If we have a look at his scores when he started, 47.1 overall with 15.2 AA. And when he plays at home, that increases to 50 with 18.7 AA. And yeah, away from home, averaging 45 with 12.7 AA. So he is definitely someone that when he's playing at home is much better. And like I mentioned earlier, for £10, I don't think you can really moan about these sort of scores. Really consistent. A few lower games here, which does bring his L15 down, which is also handy for cap modes. And yeah, overall, I think Postigo is a great option. So there we are, guys. 12 players for under £30 that have really nice AA scores, 2 midfielders and 10 defenders. Overall, some really nice budget options that you can plug and play, especially into those cap modes. If you've got any questions about any of those players I've just mentioned, or any other players that you would recommend under £30, please let me know down below in the comments. Please make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video.